wanted to take the opportunity, hope everybody's had a chance to read or see articles on Operation Western Alliance, which was a multi-departmental task force that did a pretty significant drug raid here in town. A lot of people from a lot of different departments and a lot of our local people were involved in that, and just wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge the hard work and the success that was seen by that operation. So, with that,
I'll make a motion to approve the manifests in the minutes from March 25, public and non. Second.
motion made and seconded to approve the manifest of April 1, 2019 and March 25th minutes, public and non. Those non-publics were not sealed, so they are public. Discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
One in favor, one abstention. And now that we have the whole board here, we're going to go ahead and do our reorg. So I will entertain a motion for chair.
I'll make a motion that Mike Darcy continue as chair.
Second. Motion made and seconded for me to continue as chair. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion.
Those opposed? And now we will entertain a motion for vice chair.
Then I'll make a motion to nominate Bernie as vice chair.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to nominate Bernie as the vice chair. Discussion on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we already did the reorg assignments. So Kim?
The only thing I have is an abatement for Captain Smith on 34 Plain Road. It was already approved on 10/29/18.
I make a motion as the board sign.
We have already approved it, so we
Just
just
sign
sign
it.
it. And that's all you got, Kim?
Okay, I have, 3 people slated for, fire wardens, forest fire wardens. I have Sharon Benedict, Hunter Brooks, and Jonathan Bovick.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the slate. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
All right, and they only have 3 lines to sign on, so you could always,
No,
get it all together. There is a line from Sharon.
They all sign on online.
Let you have your own line.
Okay. If anybody has the opportunity, I'll scan this and email it to you tomorrow, but, Southwest Planning Commission is doing an age-focused planning, survey. And basically what they're trying to do is gather information regarding this region and what the age population is. And it's a very quick survey. I've taken it, and how many, Catherine's not here, how many surveys? We've had quite a few surveys. But I'll get it out to everybody, so it's a monkey survey, you can just go on and do it, and they get your spouses to do it too, it's very beneficial for the region, so, I just wanted to let you know that. And we are now in compliance with GASB 75, we have gotten our actuarial evaluation report, which is one of the things that we had this little blurb in our audit about all the time, because we didn't want to spend the money to do it, but we broke down and spent the money and did it, and so, we're all set. It helps you with bonding and stuff, it is not a finding in the report. Otherwise, most of the stuff I have is stuff that we have to work on.
Alright. Then we're gonna we will start working on goals. So personal goals, and what I'd like to do is as we all have our goals, let's make a master list so that it's something that we can get out to each member next week, so that we have our goals in place. So Bernie?
My big goal is to actually get as much information out to the public as possible. See anything that's going on,
Give them information.
we need to have the information.
Alright.
And we have to decide the best way to do that. I don't believe it's mailings, it could be social media, it could be, the townspeople attending meetings, that kind of thing. So that's my big goal.
Alright. Steve?
Oh, one of mine is the same as last year, and that's just seeing the bridge thing through. I mean, individually, I can't do a whole lot about that, but I think that can be probably better communicated, although we don't have real regular meetings right now because there's been a little stall in the process. That ties in with economic development, which I've been very interested in. Another big goal of mine, I think I mentioned it earlier, or sometime last year, that was selling, and we talked about it, and auctioning town-owned properties to raise more, help our taxes. We own a lot of properties and have owned some of these for maybe up to 50 years for no real reason, so that's a goal of mine, and I know that we talked about it recently, so that will happen soon, hopefully.
Anything else? That's it. Megan?
Kind of building on Bernie's, I guess, communication and getting information out. That election time, a simplified list of articles so that it's more understandable to the average person. Someone had brought up informal community meetings. I thought that was a nice idea, be more accessible to the public if they have questions. We don't have like a selectman email, do we? No. So I thought that would be, if we didn't want to do necessarily informal meetings, they could email the selectmen, we could talk about it each Monday and get back to them kind of thing. I think that it'd be nice to have it on the agenda at some point soon to just discuss different ideas and potential ways that we can better communication for residents, employees, and boards, I know we had talked about recently, just the process that our board or any of the boards in town take, and I think, being, new to this board, especially maybe when people sign up to be,
candidates, they get like a code of conduct type thing, they know what they're getting into, they know, you know. And then I think everyone's goal would be probably taxes, keeping it in the back of their mind. And I think Parks and Rec is working towards revenues with the summer program possibly, and so just a general trying to find more revenue for the town and working on helping with taxes.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Well, I guess mine, this is a little bit long. But I'm looking at it over a 3-year period, and one of the things that I want to look at is, we talked about improving transparency, and one of the primary goals, or one of the recommendations I was having was, actually, Mr. Rooney has already addressed that, because he's been, here with the public meetings and recording those, and I think that's very beneficial. I'd like to see us also have maybe a backup plan as far as if he's not available. And any equipment that we may need in order to do that. There's various ways which I've outlined in this, so we can do that as far as like private community television. They have equipment stuff that we could use if we ever needed any type of assistance. So another goal that I'm looking at is, I want to see about maybe looking into a community advisory board. And what that does, that's going to connect the town government and the residents. So that way the public can say, so they have a voice in the decisions that impacts their lives and builds a stronger community. The local and county leaders, that I think we need to assume the roles of leadership and local efforts. In order to reverse the trends that we're currently having with this problem with the opioid crisis. And so therefore that's going to set the town for our local conversations. And I'd like to see, in fact, we do establish a community advisory board, which was brought up at the town meeting. Well, maybe that's something that we can meet on a quarterly basis. And that, you know, there's not a big gap in between. Another thing that I'm looking at is maybe establishing a youth and teen advisory board. And that's, the reason for that is so that way the youth, so they can express the ideas, and the youth, they can fill the gap between the town officials and its youth, which will foster a greater involvement of youth in town government and town affairs. And plus, they will be an advocate for the team. Another thing I would look to see over the next 3 years is see if we can't review the town's policies and procedures to ensure that we are up to date and to ensure compliance. And to also reduce the town's liability and assist in employee retention. Now, some of these things may have already be in the works. I don't know which ones are or which ones are not, but I think that we can start, you know, looking at those are some things that we can try to address. Those are my goals.
All right, now that actually goes, because right now, I'm in the process of reviewing our financial policies, so I could update them and get them to the selectmen for approval, it's actually done, period. We're also working on updating the personnel policy right now. I'm finalizing the strikes, and then I'm going to send it out to the town from review. So those two will be off that list.
And that's why we can take a look at it and prioritize which ones that we need to start reviewing first. And we like I said, and then set our goals, which ones we want to address first.
Well, it's coming up on 6:15, so I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on my stuff right now. Before we get started, Lisa, I need to ask, what is the purpose of this tonight?
My understanding is that something wasn't done appropriately to the SB2. Being notified, doing a public hearing.
Correct.
That failed to happen.
Yep.
Does that mean that the vote is invalid?
The vote still happened.
There's no consequences for not having a public hearing?
There should have been a public hearing done on it, it was an oversight, but there's no real DRA, if you don't have the public hearing, no matter what the vote was, DRA would have just thrown it out probably, or they would have just gone with people voting for it. It's really up to the Department of Revenue, which way they go.
So we talked to the Department of Revenue about it?
have talked to the Department of Revenue because we needed to know what we were doing. That discussion was had just before town meetings when we realized that there was an oversight.
Were we not gonna let the town know that happened, or was that supposed to be confidential?
There was no, DRA was going to accept the vote. So if it passed, DRA would have said, you guys are going to SB2. If it didn't pass, which it didn't, then DRA was going to say it didn't pass. As there was no consequence, not having a public hearing didn't impact whether or not SB2 passed.
You answered my questions.
Okay, that was it then?
Yeah, that was it, and I know that probably SB2 is gonna come on probably be petitioned again for next year. If there is a public hearing for that next year, this is all hypothetical, should it happen, the board runs the public hearing on that. Do you answer the questions on SB2, or does there need to be someone, I guess, well-versed in SB2 that's an impartial party to answer those questions?
Hang on. I'm going to ask how the school did theirs, because the school did have a public hearing. How did you guys do yours?
Well, there's no public there.
Right.
Right.
But.
Which is quite typical.
If the public was there, they would have expressed their concerns. If there was a question, we would answer to the best of our ability. If we did not know the answer, we would have gotten back and we can answer this generally to our policy.
Right. So, we're not gonna have a special person, especially as there is no special expert person to run around the state and attend these meetings,
Right, okay.
unfortunately. Anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Am I assuming correctly that this board and the town remains neutral? in that
As a board, yes, we have nothing to do with the passing. If the legislative body determines that they want SB2, then that is the method that we will use for town meeting. If they determine that they don't want it, then that is the method we will use. This board has no power or authority to change or alter that. That's a legislative body. Going back to our goals, I see a commonality, and I heard a commonality in terms of communication and transparency, so it sounds like that should be a primary focus. The two advisory boards are an interesting idea. I'm kind of bouncing around because I'm trying to address what everybody had said. Steve, I know that we already have employees and elected official that are going to be coming to us over the next 2-3 months with properties that are eligible for sale, that hopefully we can move on. I do know that there's a piece of property on Old Chesterfield Road that matches your 50-year-old property that we paid, was it $50 for?
If that.
So we paid $50, 50-something years ago for it, and we've had it, it's 12 acres of property. And some of these have been taken, some of these properties have been taken in, for failure to pay taxes. In those cases, we are trying to obviously recoup the lost tax dollars so that we can at least break even on it. But the most important part of selling any town-owned property is getting it back onto the tax rolls so that it is making, it's generating a revenue again. We will need, this year in particular, to have our representative be more diligent in terms of the bridge, because we wanna stay on everybody and keep that going. If they're going to be setting that for bid this fall, then we need to make sure that they're holding to that timeline. We've had a few other things in there. One thing, obviously, we haven't had as big an audience, but one thing that has been kicked around is the care and maintenance of the town-owned buildings, in particular this building. Everybody notices that we didn't come through that door, which we haven't used in years. That's just replacing and fixing that door out there because of the way it's sitting and the fact that the wall isn't really attached to much is an expensive project. One of our former selectmen, I don't know if he's gotten the work done yet, but his truck got pretty well dinged from snow sliding off the roof. That's been an ongoing challenge that we've been trying to address, but it's thousands and thousands of dollars to get these little things done, especially with a historical building like this. So I think that is one, and I do believe we have an avenue to hopefully get some state and federal help so that we can start taking care of our older buildings, the buildings that are historic. I'd like to see us as a board working in concert with the school board in the school district more. We are all the same. The taxpayers, they get one tax bill, and they're paying for all of the school, they're paying for all of the town. It would be a shame if we're not making every effort that we can. And there have been some huge steps in that direction. Sean Leary has spearheaded some good collaboration that has, I think, helped in the long run, and I think will continue to help, but we need to keep going with that, and we need to keep working together. More than just having an SRO, more than just one or two things, but doing any and everything that we can to utilize all of the assets that we have here in town. And I think really our biggest goal should be actually sticking to our goals and using them. A lot of times we have this meeting every year and we talk about things that we want to see done, and then it's break and we all scatter and we do our thing, and then a year later we come back and we usually have the same goals because we didn't sit down and work on them. So I'm excited to see what we can do, and as long as everybody's willing to put in the effort, I think we can be smart with our time. We can do some workshops, and we can hit some of these ideas and really address some of the wants from the board.
I have one other that I had written down on a piece of paper at home and forgot. But that is, another goal would be to try to come up with a solution, because it's really tough, or some leverage towards unpaid taxes on mobile homes. As a board, we struggle with how to deal with that. The tax on a mobile home isn't much, but when it adds up year after year because they just don't pay it and are allowed to stay in it, frustrates us as a board, and so that would be a goal of mine.
And just to be clear, you're talking about mobile homes in parks.
Mobile homes in parks, for the most part.
Anything else? All right, we've got a few minutes. 5 minutes, if I start going around, is that gonna be okay? Not gonna be too crazy? All right. Tonight we'll start front row and we'll just zigzag through. Lisa?
The one thing I wanted to say on the mobile home, following up on his, is that a lot of people that I spoke to over the course of being out there did say that we ought to start taking a couple of mobile homes, and if people realize that you're willing to do that, they would be more likely to pay their taxes.
Most of my stuff I'm talking about with Parks and Rec when we do that, so.
In a few minutes, all right? Yeah. Sure. You're back.
I just wanted to say, I love what Ms. Conrad was saying about communication. I said before, I think the website's underutilized. I won't rehash that. And dealing with the town properties, do we know how many properties the town owns?
Yeah, there's a master list of towns.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
a
the town board.
Okay, okay. Well, I think that's a great focus, because anything to get the tax rate down.
Hmm? Anything else?
I don't know if anybody's noticed, but a sign is missing from part of Old Brattleboro Road after you've passed the HCP and are heading towards 119. After you go past Susan Drive, it used to say no through trucks. It only says that now on the entrance side of 119 in that road. And I followed a few big rigs through and used the phone number on the back of their rig to report them into the company that they were driving for, and let them know that the driver was not supposed to use that road as a through road. I mean, you know, we spend a lot of money on our roads. I'd like to see them last a little bit longer, plus that road is pretty dangerous with the way the driveways come into it.
Jill, can you let Frank know? Anything else?
Do we know what kind of remedy that, between the town and the state that we can offer to the people who have decided to camp out on the island? In between Brattleboro and us?
Yeah, so, that's always been a challenge. That's going to be more of a challenge when we have the new bridge, but it's always been a challenge. The land is owned by the state, so that is technically a fish and game issue. They feel they've done their due diligence in putting up those little no camping signs. Obviously, we would like to see more done.
Because, you know, a lot of people are coming off the interstate, they've never been to Hinsdale before, and that's their first view. Lovely.
Yep, we're well aware.
Okay.
That has been debated ad nauseum. I know that our chief of police and the former chief of police have had long discussions with the state of New Hampshire trying to come up with a remedy. And I know that the conditions on that island are a significant concern in terms of the bridge committee and what is going to happen with that island when the new bridge is there, and all of that is now just foot traffic and there's no more cars to make it less desirable for people to camp at. So it is an ongoing issue. Sadly, there's no easy answer for that one.
It is sad, I know.
Anything else?
Yeah, in regards to the communication and being able to disseminate to the rest of the residents that aren't able to come to meetings and such, I would suggest perhaps contacting the town clerk for Vernon, Vermont. He worked at a radio station and he knows all about equipment and how to set up cameras and stuff. I love what's going on right now down here. I think if we had more professional equipment and perhaps started a VA club at the school, kids could learn about that and possibly get involved with video, audio for their career.
Yeah, BCTV, they actually have a program which they have individuals who do exactly that, and they are more than willing to teach individuals.
Cool.
It may be a small fee, I think it's like maybe $20, but I mean, I'll put the $20 in.
I'll split that with you.
All right.
Anything else, Lisa?
I'm good.
All right. Yeah, no? Well, 6:30, I will call
I got-
I'm
Sorry.
Ken.
Lisa just stole my thunder. I'm going to continue to do this as long as I possibly can, but I mean, depending on my social life, which is nil, but I have no problem doing this.
Well,
But
just I mean, I don't wanna sound like a naysayer or anything, but when the town or the school starts to videotape or record their meetings themselves, there are a lot of 91A3 concerns and issues and regulations that we have to meet, including maintaining all of the tape in certain ways. And so it's one thing for a resident to come and do it. They are allowed to film any public meeting. That is allowed. When the town starts doing it, there's a whole nother set of restrictions and rules and regulations that have to be followed. So,
but will the town make it available? That's the main question.
what do you mean make it available?
Well, if you guys are going to record it, you guys are going to store it and upkeep the tape and all that.
Yeah, it has to be available. That's part of the.
Okay, then that shouldn't be a problem then.
It would be posted online somewhere, correct?
It has to be kept. I'm just saying there are certain regulations that have to be followed. So it's not quite as easy as Mr. Rooney just setting up a camera and coming to a meeting. We have other regulations that have to be followed.
But it would be posted, right?
Yes.
Then that should be a problem then. Yeah.
Anything else? All right, now I will have Parks and Rec Committee and the Parks and Rec Program Manager. So the goal of tonight's Parks and Rec workshop is to fill in all those lovely little squares to finalize the consensus was a 6-week program to come up with what that 6 weeks would look like so that we can get it down in writing, so that this board can look it over the week and vote on it next week. Yes?
Okay, I was gonna say, because the committee has not seen that, just so you're aware.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying, the goal here tonight is to put together the program.
And we have the fee schedule that we'd like to suggest, and we also have another thing that came up at our meeting.
Let's do the fee schedule after, let's try and knock out the,
The fee schedule is, we're looking for this to know what the fees are going to be. So
that can just be put in. That's, all right. Unlike previous workshops, I am just gonna open it up because I'd like to just get information and get people, let's get the thoughts out there. It's a 6-week program. If you remember the 3-week or the 2-week, however you wanna look at it, the shorter version had 2 weeks worth of programming. I'd like to hear thoughts, ideas on what we'd be doing to fill out a 6-week program, what kinds of things to put in. So I asked you to throw a hand up, but let's work around the room and
Do you have copies of whatever Matt came up with? We have
Did you have a few copies there?
So we don't have the schedule map that you were gonna work on?
This is the last document. This is a.
Yeah, so nobody has copies?
I didn't bring the other ones, I think that we were supposed to be on everyone, so.
I can look with somebody else, so we can just get you guys one. All right, so anybody have thoughts?
I'll start with some.
Go ahead.
So we talked about SEL, that's something that social work, something that we want.
Yep.
think that was common. In speaking with some other towns that have programs, one thing that I kind of like, Peterborough has conservation days, where they call them camp days, but same principle, where they'll go around and help us in camp improvement. Everything from basic stuff like picking up litter to maintaining trails to doing some basic low-key maintenance on, which I think, I don't want to make a habit of them do it once a week per thing like they do, but I think sprinkling it in is useful to having some ownership in the camp.
Once a week wouldn't actually be a bad idea.
I'm perfectly fine with it, but I understand the one way or the other. I spoke to Tammy, our head counselor, role playing and building some scenarios and going over some things from the handbook, was something that I think might be of use. And I don't, again, not something we do all the time, but things like, a stranger walks into the park and role playing that out, missing camper drills, doing something like that periodically, something to keep them sharp. And then I briefly mentioned it, but again, with our membership to the American Camp Association, there are some resources online that I wouldn't have them watch it during camp, but we can send them home with links to certain things and send it to them. So those were some ideas that we came up to fill in some of these.
Okay.
One thing in talking with our head council a little bit, I'm not saying we can't, but I hesitate to fill it in day to day, just because we don't know what the number is going to be yet, and we don't know what the skew is going to be. So we don't want to have 14-year-olds potentially overseeing kids that are close to their own age. And we also don't want this, for the person that's in charge of the younger group having 3 or 4 CIPs with them. So just to have a little bit of flexibility in it so that we can work with it if we need to.
All right. Ann, you have your hand up?
Yeah, there was a couple of things that we asked at the last Parks and Rec meeting that we thought the word detoxifying in here and detox means a lot of different things, and we had come up with a different word that we thought should be used instead of this, and we're like, I don't have that on me, I can't remember the word, but in this day and age, detox and detoxifying means something much different than what Matt is trying to say in this.
If I could, let me just, we talked about this before in that this is not the document that will go out to anybody. This is an internal, in order to tell what we were thinking in terms of, or this is not the final draft and wording, or this is an internal thing that will be cleaned up before that happens.
And which document are you looking at?
I'm looking at this curriculum outline proposal.
Okay, so
And
that's
also the online.
And when you come to the words online, I mean, that today, of course, means a lot of different things to different people. So we asked that these couple of words be, corrected before it was presented again to the selectmen.
all right. In this, on the 6-week program, I see detox twice, or detoxification and detox. What was the meaning? What were you trying to get across with the term detox?
The term was suggested to me by one of the people like I spoke with who put this together. The intent is to rewire the thinking to go from being socially linked and hanging out and having a camper mentality to being more of a professional mindset and separating themselves from people who might be potentially friends. They need to change their mindset. So it was, like I said, this is, the vernacular is subject to change. It's what was suggested to me.
I think I'm trying, I've got my original copy. I thought I wrote that word down, there was another word that we did was.
It was at the Parks and Rec meeting when we discussed it. That's
Do we all agree that there's another word that's gonna be there?
Yeah, without a doubt, absolutely.
Is that?
And for online.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's that, I mean, can we, let's just focus on trying to, so we all agree that those words will not be used in this. We will find a suitable word. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Remember, sometimes simple is better.
Well, we had the word, I just can't, I mean, Teresa came up with the word at the meeting, and I just can't remember what it is.
Sean?
So, I guess I was expecting a little bit something different, I was expecting more of an actual curriculum kind of being built, so I kind of got to switch my mindset a little bit. When we talk about things like the role playing is a great idea, and then you run through practical situations and you see how to handle them. It seems like that's not necessarily a curriculum item, but something that you would add into whatever you're learning. So I'm still, the SEL, that's fantastic, that can work in here, real easily. Role playing with that. You have the CPR and the AED, and first aid and that type of thing, I think needs to be, obviously more, you could expand that to more than 1 week, but what else are we trying to teach them? You know what I mean,
That's what tonight is supposed to be about. Let's get a little more, if we have, so, I don't wanna wander too far, but an example you gave was a lost camper scenario. So, is it safe to assume that we would have a day or more of classroom time going over what happens with a lost camper, and then after that, there would be a role play or a scenario?
Right.
So, in theory, lost camper should be one of these curriculum building days, and then maybe, part of the next day, and then in that would be included the role play of, or scenario training.
Sure.
I think that could actually be a fun thing.
Right.
And it can also be something that they can take with them.
But that's the kind of thing that we need to start doing, so.
And we can put the handbook into live action. We can work through some of those things and get them off the page and into actual
More
use.
than just lost camper
Right.
scenarios that they could be.
So I think I'd like to start with CPR, because I think we have an opportunity here. CPR is not just a one-day thing. To me, any CPR that I've done has been multiple days. How many days is obviously up to debate, but I would see that as at least 2 days. I mean, in all honesty, I could see CPR, especially for young kids, where you're trying to really establish it, so you're gonna be going slower, you're going to be focusing on things differently. The CPR in itself could be a week long. That's the reality of it. I'd like to know what other people.
I agree with you, but, most of the CPR training that is offered through Primex or through, Gregor Institute is 1 day. I mean, they do it in, I mean.
It's a long day though.
And that's fine, but
But if we were to get creative on that though, we could use the Primex training, and you could always pull in like the fire department.
Right.
You could pull in some other groups.
And that's what I'm saying, is can't we?
And
You
to your
can,
point,
I think you can expand the curriculum. You can have whoever you're having come down and do CPR, do the CPR, and they get their card. But all through this 6 weeks, there should be updates. They should use a mannequin to practice. That's how they're going to
Right.
build their skills.
Could you potentially do like, the first week would be Primex, or, the next week would be the fire department, the next week would be
Correct.
the police department,
Does the fire department have that equipment? They have EMTs, anybody know?
I would believe. There are all the
If they
have
don't
to
have
do-
it, doesn't the police department have EMT training equipment?
They have it, right?
So couldn't it be used by the fire department to?
Yeah, if you needed to fill in some space with one of those days that are if CPR is one day and then the next week is another day, but it doesn't need to be CPR, but some of the things we just talked about, the tie-in, like a first aid, or how many little kids, parents know to look at them really carefully during summer for ticks, look places that kids can't look, teach them about ticks, those kinds of things, because it's gonna be a bad year.
And these are things we can work in on these Wednesdays when there are less kids on the grounds. We can work in things that are a bit more, you would have other people rubbernecking around with other programs, like other kids would be looking at it. So they might, A, not feel self-conscious about it, because they're 14 and they will, but B, they'll be able to have more space to play through some of these things. And C, we can have any type of visitor, whether it be the fire department or whoever, come in and visit with a slightly smaller group, and then it's not, trying to teach something to anywhere from 12 to 20 kids with whoever's walking around. So I think that's absolutely something that.
Realistically, how many junior counselors have we had in the past?
There were 7 and 6 years ago.
It was,
So
there's
half a dozen.
half a dozen at the, about the
That's
same.
realistically the number that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and but that was also a volunteer-free program. You're probably will not get that many for a charge.
But realistically, the number that we're looking at is a half dozen.
Correct.
For one, this is a 2-year program, so
Right.
if you're counting the first year, then yes. If not, you double it.
So, the SRO, what is he doing in the summer for the school? Nothing? So the SRO would be available.
He was around last year.
School resource officer for anybody in that.
And SEL is social emotional learning.
I know he was around even just so he could park the cruiser because of the traffic with the construction, and we wanted to make sure that people weren't just flying down School Street.
He's usually a police officer during the
Yeah, he's around, he's not physically.
Right, but we could work him being available. I think for the fire department, it's a lot tougher since it's a volunteer fire department.
Right.
But they do come down and do the demo thing.
And so, we might be able to get a day, but I'm just trying to look at this and
And rescue will come over too,
let's look at how and what we would need to schedule.
And to your point about not just the resource officer, but I think having if we can get him the canine officer would be something that the kid would enjoy, I think, too. And
He is the SRO.
oh, no, right, but the fact that this would be a new thing, and it's a dog, and, it'll, I'll definitely be there to see that, so.
Alright. So there are some ideas, there are thoughts here percolating. Now we need to figure out how to put it together on the schedule and what we want to see done. So, I like the idea of the Conservation Day, having a day where we've got sort of the hands-on doing things.
Like Peterborough.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment on that, really,
Okay, make your comment.
I like the idea of the conservation thing, I think it instills good ideas in young people. My concern would be liability.
Yeah, we would definitely have to be careful about what they do.
Exactly.
The good thing would be if you can go on the rail trails, it's still town property, it's still town insurance. We would just have to be very controlled about what they do and what they do it with. And obviously we'll start small and go with basic things.
I think it's a great idea, I think we should go forward with that, but we really seriously have to look at the liability, because kids could pick up a needle.
Yeah, well, that's just that we go real slow on this and.
That's all good.
Alright. So, my question becomes, do we want to see a Conservation Day? Do we want to see that happening?
What's the lesson, what's the goal, and how does it fit?
I think the lesson is stewardship. I think that ends up being the lesson. I would think that they would be utilized around the park and on the grounds in that area in some way, which would mean that we would need Frank to lay out these are the things that they could do around the park to give them that sense of ownership and the stewardship of our public spaces.
The other place that they could, that you could also use is the cemetery.
Right, there are opportunities.
There's a lot of interesting things that they can do right on that flat.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've talked to the counselor about, I want to use more adjacent town property for some easy field trips, if you will, to get them out and see some of these things that are right on the, the doorstep.
So Sean, does that answer the question? I mean, it would be a stewardship in a public.
I get that, how does it fit into the role of the counselor?
Well, I would say work ethic is one of them.
And how does it fit into the actual role of the counselor?
The actual
How are they
counselor.
going to use that? If at some point they become, counselors that, oversee the younger kids and stuff like that, how is that gonna be used for that?
Yeah, personally, I would see it as a buy-in thing.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion on it, is that you're creating buy-in. One, you're giving some diversity in what they're doing.
And I think that's great, I think stewardship is great, I think ownership is great. I think that when you're looking at this though, you really need to be looking at the end goal.
Right.
And how each of those pieces
It's
gonna add towards that
absolutely a
goal.
valid question, and the only answer I can give you is that I would see it as promoting ownership.
I think, if they're going to be a counselor, it would make them feel like that area specifically, I mean, not like going on the rail trail or anything, but the field and, that area is more theirs, and they feel, they take more responsibility for it. I mean, obviously, if you're going farther, that's different, but if you're just talking right near the school and stuff.
No, his question still stands.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to answer that other than saying ownership.
I mean, I'm looking at this as, it's the leadership development program, and if I'm not mistaken, the goal after these kids go through the entire program, the 2 years, whatever it is that they conceivably could be counselors that work at the camp, that work with the kids, and help the kids do projects, crafts, however they do, whatever they're doing. So how, and obviously CPR, AED, that all fits in. So how, the pieces that we're plugging in from the curriculum, doesn't that have to feed towards that goal?
It should, yes.
And if we can't answer how it feeds into that goal, is it something for the curriculum? Or is that an activity?
But I don't believe that brushing off the stewardship and work ethic.
I'm not
is-
brushing it off at all, because
No,
I think there's value to it.
No, but to your point, I think it directly feeds into it, because there are things that are not doing activities and things. It is the ugly, grimy stuff. It is the cleaning up at the end of the day. It is the ownership of the park and maintaining it. Those are not unrelated. And when you go to tell anybody in an interview, what did you do during this time? Well, not only did I build a curriculum, I took care of the park, I was a good steward for it, and I showed that I could do the manual labor necessary to keep it up going while I was, teaching and executing events. I think it makes him for a more well-rounded individual. I don't think it's unrelated at all.
Okay.
The thing I would like to impress on, we have a chance as a community and everything to make a difference in the youth's thought process of life by this. When they get all done, if they graduate high school, go to college, they want to go into something from this experience that, yes, they're paying for, and they're getting paid, or they're paying to go to camp one way or the other. But it's a learning process for these youth, and it could change their lives.
So if we take the whole stewardship thing, as you said, and yes, of course, they need to take care of, where they're working, where they live, and all that. If we say that has value for this, do we adjust the goals of the program to fit that, which would make it fit more into the curriculum? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, and that's why I'm having trouble with how to answer, because
And I'm not
I
asking,
think it's a value added thing.
and I'm not asking you to,
I know you're
I'm not
not.
asking you to be difficult. I'm
No,
asking
you're asking because
does that have a purpose?
you're looking at the end goal, which is good. Go ahead, Steve.
I like the idea, but I totally get Sean's question. You know, I think it's a really good question, how does it fit into specifically that, and I heard what you said, Matt. But I just understand the question, it's a good question.
Go ahead.
I think, well, your title for it is instill leadership development program, so maybe, as Bernie was saying, you're, having the opportunity to, change mindsets and, encourage young people, so maybe the description does need to be broadened, because your title for it is pretty broad, it's not counselor in training, your actual title at the top is leadership. So, cleaning up and all of that would, I think, encourage children to, take pride in all that. But I think too, it is more like they're taking.
Sit at the table.
If they're taking pride in the area, their work area, then when they become counselors and junior counselors, they're going to take pride in that smaller area, be it at lunchtime making sure all the kids pick up their stuff, or, even though it's not a specific reason, it's still taking pride in their workspace. It's just a very big workspace at that point, but once they're counselors, they're taking pride in whatever workspace they're, at lunch, or the arts and craft table, or, so I think it's really just making them think about their work area, really. I see the connection that way.
I think it's important to, either one way or the other, to adjust a curriculum or adjust a goal, because it's very easy to get distracted and sidetracked. It's very easy to say, hey, this activity is great, this activity is this thing, all of these things that are really great, that can fit into camp, fantastic way. It doesn't get to the goal, do you know what I mean? So I just think we need to keep both of them in mind, so we're not getting sidetracked. Like you brought up the example of, hey, it's all great when we sit down and get our goals, but then a year later, you know what I mean? And if we don't keep the focus.
What if, rather than looking at this as something that would happen maybe on a weekly basis, or an activity that would fill a day, you drop that, look at it as one day, probably in the latter week, one of the last weeks, with the idea of teaching that stewardship, that responsibility being presented or used in a way to teach them how to plan an event, or in some aspect of their event, utilize it as an example of things that you can do with campers, or along those lines.
Yeah, if you maybe make it as part of a, I'm not sure the terminology, you're building on stuff, and so like you have your day, you go out, you do stuff, you talk about it, and then you talk about stewardship and all that, so you continue that lesson. And then as you get into the following days of doing different things, you kind of add that learning piece in,
Right.
And then you can build off that, and that could be towards, planning your own event and building it.
So if it were you tied into that, to part of the development of a curriculum yourself as a counselor, or an event as a counselor, if it were tied in as part of that.
I think you tied it in, and I think if you, like I said, if you build off it, so like maybe, by like the end of the program, you can show competencies in, 6 different things, 5, 6 different things that, and maybe in week 1 you're learning, week 2 you're learning the second thing, and you can show that you mastered the first thing or have knowledge of the first thing. Week 3, you're learning week 3 stuff, but then you're also using weeks 2 and 1. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then building up.
And that's more the structure that I want this to have, more so than for example, Peterborough has Monday is this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday is this. I don't wanna do that for a number of reasons, but I like, and that's why I have the mentor and reviews built into it, that it does give you something to build towards, you know, through building towards, if, just so we can fit it in there, if stewardship is something you are being, not graded, but, you know, looked at for, then that might be a way to incorporate and get everybody what they're looking for.
Yeah, and you would need the, you know, the mentorship, and you would need the check-ins, and you would need all of that, you know, periodically, so that, you know, someone didn't fall behind, or didn't get it, or whatever it was, so that's cool, and I think, to me, that makes a lot more sense if you kind of build it in and use it, you know, throughout the course of the program.
All right, so let's take half a step to the side then. We said that we're figuring 6 people, maybe as many as 12 if you times that by 2. But I would honestly say we're talking about 6 people. With that as the goalpost, the planning the event as the goalpost, can we take week 6 and have the opportunity for 2 CITs to do an event on each of those days, spread it out so that they have the regular staff available, not all of them doing it on the same day, where you're spreading them out and you've got all these counselors trying to keep control and be there. But say Monday of that week, you have 2 people that are going to do whatever events they planned. And then Tuesday of that week, you have 2 more people, or 1 person, however it works out, however the numbers work out, but you have it available for a small group. Now, I don't know what you do with the rest of the kids.
You could break it out into, like, depending on what the leadership development program is, and what the participants do, you could break it out into like first, second grade for one event, because it might be more geared to the first.
And that's fine, but my thought process here is, let's say that our goalpost is the event. So that happens in week 6.
Well, my only concern with that is that we have them intentionally spread out, and I want to make sure that we don't just load the back weekend, the latter. Perhaps if I can suggest a different way, perhaps we come up with instead the rubric that we want them to be reviewed for, and come up with what those talking points are, whether it's knowledge of the rescue stuff and stewardship and ability to develop a curriculum, and come up with those as the benchmarks.
It could even be something as simple as developing a craft for them. I mean, that's more, I'm not thinking of these kids getting a PhD through this program, but, having.
I kind of like the idea of having the kind of finale week. It sounds a lot to me like ELO Exhibition Day.
So,
you know what I mean? So you have all the different things going on.
The things that are being said, the things that are going around, we're either talking about having an event every week or every couple of weeks that is based on, I'm assuming, the previous 2 weeks of training.
Yeah.
Or we're having a system that is week 1 is this, and then week 2 builds on week 1, adds some new stuff. Week 3 builds on those 2, adds some stuff. Week 4 builds on that, adds some stuff. Week 5 builds on that, adds some stuff. Week 6, we put it all together.
That's
you see. So I'm saying there's 2 very different ways to approach it. I think we need to decide which of those 2 methods we want to see.
Can we get some of Mary Ann's opinions, because she works very closely
There's
with
a
these
reason I
kids.
made her sit.
I know. She works very closely. I was. So you've heard some of what we've been.
Right, I think that it's really important to, like Mike was saying, to maybe build as you go, because you want to keep their attention, you want to keep them there, you want them to keep coming. Because I'm not sure if it's going to be paid or whatever way, I mean, if they're
the meeting board, they're not gonna do it. So building on something and adding something new would probably help to retain.
So
Okay,
you're, so I don't know if I described the two thought processes that have been, so one of them is, you learn week one, and then you go to week two, you refresh, and then you learn week two. And then week three would be refreshing a little bit, and then learn week three until you get to week six, which would be the event planning on, putting together everything you've learned the previous 5 weeks for your end all, your end of the summer.
And as you
Presentation.
progress, are you being provided with the opportunity to show your skills? Or is it just learning and watching? Or is
No,
learning
it would need, and that's part of what we're doing. Do you have one of the, one of these?
Yeah.
With the little
We're
box?
talking about it, if you're doing the role playing, if you're doing the mentor reviews, if you're doing all that, I think the kids are being able to get the opportunity every week to show what they learned.
Exactly.
And then during the course of those weeks, they can really be given some thought to, and starting to plan.
And that's kind of the idea, is that we can incorporate, there have been some really good ideas so far thrown around, we can incorporate these bits and pieces together so that we are putting something together that is meaningful. And that's why personally I kind of like the final week finale idea, just because it allows them to showcase what they have taken from all of the.
My concern with having it be the last week is that it's rigid in that if they go on vacation, if they let interest in stuff going, we could end up with a situation where there are not many that have gone through it out of whatever reason, and now that last week that's supposed to be this culmination is a bust.
And
I'm trying to think of it more as the same idea, except you're working Monday to Friday instead of week 1 to 6.
I guess, I like the finale idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Matt, I think maybe that's a good point, but maybe it's one person that is on vacation,
Well,
So-
and you start, when you
there's a
develop
catch-up phase.
this, we talk about it with the kids involved, and they know what the expectation is. That's the other thing, we communicate the expectation. And if, say, for example, their family already has something planned for week 6, we can make the adjustment so they can do it week 5. You know, I mean,
We'll make the
it's a
individual
fluid.
adjustments.
Right.
We're capable of that.
And they don't come back the next year. They didn't.
Right. So I guess I'd like to know which direction, because it doesn't make any sense to plan both. We should plan one way or the other. So,
I like the finale.
so it sounds like, and I understand your concerns. I think we can make it work, and I think we can actually incorporate the Monday to Friday as well.
I think if you look at the numbers in terms of overall attendance, you have a steady decrease over the course of summer. And we're not talking about a huge population, we're talking 77 kids the last time we had this.
Right.
And now they're paying for it. We don't need that many to be on vacation for this thing to have a couple of kids left. I want to do it, if I may, I think Monday to Friday, because we have events almost every Friday that they can work towards. We have the same, if I understand correctly, a lot of the same principles that we can put in, and we can have them execute Monday to Friday. But we're not having to put all our eggs in the basket that they're gonna be there the last week of the summer. Not to mention, you know as well as I do, at the end of the summer, brains are operating on empty. We need to mitigate some of those a little bit and allow them to do it Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
I think that, like Ann said, when this is explained to them, they're basically, it's a job. And if their work ethic doesn't show that they wanna just do the full 6 weeks, then they're not considered for the next time. I think working towards a goal, that 6 week, like with the ELO, they have a great
end of the thing, it's great, they get to showcase what they've learned. They're not really gonna be able to showcase anything after week one. And they'll have more, confidence at week 6. But I just think that when it's explained to them, this is a 6-week program. If you don't do the full 6 weeks, you won't be considered next year.
And when I initially proposed
Hang on a
this,
second, I just want to let in.
I think there's, might be just a little, miscommunication about, we're not talking about executing the events that the camp normally has, like Mad Science, Echo Farm and stuff like that. We're talking about executing,
Exposition.
Thank you. It's, you know how I get when it gets late. For the kids themselves to show how they have grown over the summer. That is what the 6 weeks is for. They can still help through the week and help execute the Mad Science event.
I think that helping execute those things is a good learning experience, because
Exactly.
while they do their Monday through Thursday stuff, and then they help on Friday, they're helping, they get to observe how a successful event operates. And they get to see the things that they're learning, hopefully being practiced.
By the other,
And
right, as an
that's
example
what-
for the younger
Right.
kids. And then the week 6 is for them to shine.
Yep.
It's for them to
Right.
say, I accomplished this. And it's for the other kids, the younger kids in the camp, to really start looking up to these kids, because that's what happens.
Right.
well, my concern is when I first proposed this, there was a lot of pushback on having parents involved, on holding people accountable, having them, when we explain it. And there was a lot of talk about how they won't come, and there was gonna be some concerns about that. I don't disagree with you in that if we explain all these things, then there are certain expectations, and if they're not met, then there will be consequences for it. But I think perhaps the answer is somewhere in the middle. I think if with some tweaking of the events, we can do both. We can work up from Monday to Friday and have small, what do you call it, what is that what they call it? The yellow presentation? Yeah. So Fridays effectively become that, and I'm just flipping this thing on its head and saying, let's go Monday to Friday. We have small things that lead up to some kind of a small demo on Friday, to culminating on that last Friday, where we can have a fairly substantial event if we want, and they can all have different elements of it.
But how
And I
does
think that gets us to where everybody wants to be.
how does that impact your planned events and field trips and everything else, though? Because you've already got those things planned for Fridays.
The biggest change would be, I think I'd have to switch and see if certain people would come on different dates. They all know that they're coming on a Friday, so it's not the day of the week, it would just be a matter of switching them around to which Friday. The ones that I have earmarked for them to be planning them are ones that are on site, so there's a little bit more control on our end for them. So there would be some logistics that I'd have to work out, that I can't think they're impossible. Hopefully that answers your question.
Not exactly, because I think that you're still having, these planned events, and now you need to try to figure out how to integrate a week's worth of stuff that kids may not be on this really solid footing into that event. Do you know what I mean? This is something that's already planned.
Well, that's why I'm thinking we can build it up to being a more challenging event on the last Friday, and have something as simple as Mad Science, where they come in and pretty well run their own thing earlier on, so that we have small expectations to work to that Friday.
I'm gonna disagree with this a little bit, because I don't know how you take something like Mad Science, it has their plan, they have their show, have their whatever. How are you gonna fit these lessons in there to that event versus having the kids learn and watching them, watching the event, maybe helping them a little bit, and then having a week at the end to pick everything that they've learned. I'm not.
Yeah, it would definitely, we need to go to it. There definitely would be some challenges. But I really don't think that waiting till the last week or two to let them see what they can do. I don't think that gets us to where we want to be.
I don't think you're doing that, Matt, because they're still gonna be helping you execute math science. They're still gonna be helping you execute the Echo Farm. What the last week is for them to.
do a unique.
It's putting them in the spotlight, it's letting them, it's really just letting them shine.
This is what
letting them shine.
And I'm saying, let's do that on all the Fridays.
I don't think I have the confidence.
Hang on, Steve.
Well, that's what we're building.
Steve's had his hand up for a little bit now.
I think I'm hearing an overwhelming majority to do it the way the committee feels it should be done. I've seen several ELO finales, and they were some of the best parts of the school board meetings that I've gone to. Sometimes it's just a little mundane, a little bit to report, a lot of business by the board, but a little to report. I'm also wondering, I think Tammy's opinion would be, she's there day in and day out. I wonder about her thoughts about, the kids' focus. And I really like the idea of building it up, having a grand finale at the end. And who knows, maybe parents will come to that as well as other interested people, because it should be something they're proud of, and it should be something that's done well, hopefully. You can.
I think, like, you're talking about completely separate things, so you're almost adding the 6th week in with what you've already got here. Because if I'm understanding correctly, they're helping with all of these things on Fridays, and you guys are adding a week of where they can do their own.
No, it's where they're presenting
Right.
what they learned.
Right, and so they're doing it
It's a
on,
recap.
they're doing like an activity on their own. Whereas with these Friday things, they're helping, like,
And what they should be.
right, so they're, like you said, they're building their confidence in that, but they're still getting to show what they're learning as they're going on.
Correct.
So I just feel like it's two separate things, if I'm understanding what you guys are saying, it's their individual, what they're showing, what they've learned, whereas on Fridays.
They feed into each other, I think, fairly closely, I think, during the course of the week, they're learning some stuff, they can help with these Friday events. And they're building from week to week.
Right.
So they can, show what they've learned at the end, but during the week, they're still showing what they've learned on Friday.
Right, but not on their own, like,
No,
on
no,
a Friday,
on
they're
their own,
helping,
like-
they're working together, they're
Right.
helping the
Right.
current counselors.
Correct.
So you're saying on week 6, they would be able to shine on their own, skills that they've.
It's 5 weeks of learning skills.
Yeah, I got that, I'm
allow
just
them-
saying, I'm just pointing out that you're still incorporating, they're building, they're helping the current counselors, that's all still there. You're just sort of filling in the week 6 of.
Week 6
Making
is
them.
3 days of online.
Right, we're filling in that week 6 curriculum with.
We changed that
shows
on
what we
there.
learned.
Yes, we have to change
Jill's
that
been
online
looking at,
too.
Jill's been looking at words, networking,
No,
no,
Not even so.
In camp,
yeah,
as a counselor.
Active.
active,
connected,
active,
It was a
active's
simple
better.
reference of the
active.
Anyway.
If I-
Beside the point.
Can you describe, let's even call it everybody's mental status at the end of the camp?
Well,
Or
there's
has-
no doubt that everybody's tired. No doubt. I think that, I understand what you're saying, but I also understand what's being said over here, in that I think that if the CITs were able to learn what they learn as the week goes on, and they're kind of like
maybe practicing delivering what they've learned to their mentors or to Tammy, then they're building that confidence. But then as you get to the end of the program, they're showcasing it for all, whether it be parents, whether it be selectmen, yourself. That's kind of where I'm at.
It's kind of like, it's almost like a reward at the end.
I get it, but the numbers don't suggest they'll all be there, and the mental status won't be there. And
It's
I don't-
literally 15 minutes. Like, yeah, it's not like it's a whole, it's not like it's gonna take all day for them to do it. It's just get out, talk for 10, 15 minutes, and then go about the rest of the day.
Well, I think we need to keep in mind, it's the first time we're trying it.
Yeah.
So why don't we try it and see what
And we-
happens?
and
Because we can
tweak it
change
after.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, something that Matt had said was he's talking about this and we're talking about this. And I think what we're actually talking about is this, not just this or just this. It's now been said, it was what Megan was hinting at, it was what Megan was hinting at, it's what Mary Ann said, I said it about 15 minutes ago.
And I said, yeah.
And it was said before, what we're talking about is utilizing these events that you've already got in there as this is what I saw this week, this is how it's applied in real life, this is how I'm going to apply it so that at week 6, and I understand you may only have 2 kids at week 6 that are prepared to do anything. You may only have 1, you may not have any. I understand that that is questionable. But giving them the opportunity, saying, week 1, Monday through Thursday, we did this. And then I got to see this in action on Friday. Week 2, Monday through Thursday, we did this, which added to what I'd already learned. And Friday, I got to see all of that in action. So on and so forth, and then down to week 6, when they say, now I'm going to do whatever my thing is, be it I'm gonna do a craft display, craft presentation, or I'm going to do, but it's theirs, they get the ownership, they get the ownership of it, and they get to do it. And if it's only one person, then it's only one person.
But then what if we build to? That's my concern.
We don't know unless we try.
Well, agree.
We don't know unless we try. I am gonna fall back to that statement, that we don't know unless we try.
That's 100% true.
So I would say we go for what we want, and if we don't make it, when we have the postmortem, we say, hey, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. Matt was right, or no, Matt was completely wrong. Look at everybody did it, everybody was totally psyched, and this is the way we're gonna do it. But we don't know unless we try.
There's valuable information to be had from success as well as a failure. You know, and the important thing is just to keep our notes, watch, and fix it afterwards if it doesn't work the way we expect it to work.
You have a lot of mandatory things in your, description of the CIP program anyway, so I can make it a mandatory, they must be there 6 weeks. If they can't be there, then they can't sign,
I'm not gonna go down that road.
Well, I'm
No,
just saying,
but I
like,
understand what you're saying,
But
but
there was
if they
pushback
can't be
on
there for the 6 weeks,
requiring
then.
parents to be involved in all that from Parks and Rec, that they were saying, we need this, and I'm perfectly fine, tell them what you want, because you can't say, well, we asked and we didn't get it. Yep.
The other thing is, if it's a 2-year program, maybe because it's the first year, you do your Friday things and your week 6 things, but then next year, you're gonna wanna change it up for the second year kids anyway, because they're gonna be bored if you're doing it all the same. So maybe this, your event planning throughout the weeks might be better for next year for the second year.
well, thankfully, we don't have to worry about year 2 yet, because
We have to get
we
through
we have to make year 1 happen and know what our results are with year 1 before we get to. Oh, I agree.
It's gonna have to be changed a little bit for if they're gonna be a second year.
So, now we've got an hour into it, and we're back to exactly where we started, which was, we have 6 weeks of programming that we need to fill. And so, I will pose again that we start thinking of the end goal as a week 6 event, performance display, whatever you wanna call that, but we set that as the week 6 thing. It just makes all of the rest of it easier. That would leave us with weeks 1 through 5 that we need to develop what's going into those blocks, and I
And
would
who's going to
suggest,
develop it?
and I would suggest that we keep Fridays with the helping out at the events as the refresher, hands-on element of what they're doing for each of those weeks. So now we need to figure out what week 1 through 5 is going to be Monday through Thursday.
So how many weeks do you want for CPR, AED, first aid?
And how many days?
How many weeks? You want one full week?
If I may suggest, if that's the route we're gonna go, perhaps maybe a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rationale is the better way to structure it. If that's my understanding.
We need,
Yes, because you need
Yes.
Wednesdays to do.
yeah, we also need 5 topics. We need 5 things to learn, right?
So Mondays are CPR and AED, we'll even call it first response, because I think there's some other things we can work into it.
Okay.
And first aid.
Well, right, that's gonna be first response.
And if you wanted to take advantage of week, July 4th, then I would say do your CPR, all of that on the Monday through Wednesday of that week.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying if we do it linear like that, instead of going every Monday, I think people will start to burn out on it by Wednesday. So let's do CPR and first aid and first one on Mondays. Tuesdays would be stewardship day, Wednesdays
Well,
would be.
that actually makes,
That's what I'm saying.
very good sense. So
Okay,
we
so you
can-
wanna say Mondays are CPR,
So if Monday's CPR day, then that's fine, and then, yeah, we
Call it
have.
first aid day.
first aid day.
Yeah.
And
Is
then we
everybody good
have,
with that?
yeah, and then we have like a stewardship day, and we can have an SEL
The
day.
the
and then-
event, yeah, an SEL and then the event planning.
Alright, so I can actually mark off 5 days, if we all agree that first aid day is Monday.
Sure.
Everybody agrees to that? Yes, Monday is done. We don't have to think about Mondays anymore. Now on to Tuesday.
Stewardship day, I guess.
Okay, now, are we just going to put stewardship, or do we want to discuss
We would need
what?
to have activities or
Well, sure, that
lessons,
wouldn't be a full day
lessons
either.
to learn in stewardship, it wouldn't be a full day of cleaning.
Right, we're not.
There's a lot more stewardship than cleaning.
Right.
And it's also citizenship, and I mean, that's what stewards,
Conservation.
you know, it means
Correct, yeah.
becoming a good community member.
Right, we're not cleaning trail all day.
Exactly.
Alright, so we're saying Tuesdays, week 1 through 5 will be stewardship,
Well, it's
or citizenship, or whatever you want to call it, citizenship?
Citizenship.
Citizenship it is. Everybody's good with that word? Yes?
Yes.
Everybody likes that word? Feels good? Try it on? Sure. Move around in it? Okay. So we've got Monday and Tuesday done. Wednesday.
I think that would be your event planning day, because they have to get ready for whatever happening on Friday. So that, you know, that can come up and, you know, okay, so for math science, we're gonna have to do this, and if it rains, we have to do this, and
Okay, so my question is, how long is event planning?
none of these things are gonna be all day long.
Right, I'm just trying to get a grasp, because the other stuff that we have left, and we've got 2 days to do it, are things that we've talked about, are the SEL
Well,
stuff, and we have discussed having like the SRO, fire, rescue.
Yeah, but those can all be quick. Those are Mondays,
those are all
or
just gonna
they
be
can be.
Mondays?
or-
Okay.
Or whatever they're applicable to, if we have the SRO, that would probably be on Monday. I mean, those are something that I can see how that would extrapolate out.
Yeah, and we have,
You could call Wednesday like education day, where you could have the, whatever acronym you've been saying, SEL.
Social
You could-
emotional learning.
Social emotional learning, you could have event planning, you could have all that, education day.
Social emotional learning could work in really well with the teamwork that's involved in event planning.
correct, that's why,
So Wednesdays would be SEL/event planning.
yeah,
And I also think that there's some room to work out, because some of the scenarios too, and that falls into what we're training on Wednesday, that first week would be, so I think all of those things could be Wednesday.
All right, so that leaves us with Thursdays.
Well, it says online, but what do we want to say?
Right, well, that's,
Interactive, running how to play games for the kids. Interactive games.
In camp, or someone said in
In
camp.
camp.
Yeah.
I like that one.
In camp, in camp. Yeah,
So-
learning how to.
so Thursdays would be in camp, and we're good with that.
Now, these kids are going to be allowed to be in the groups, they're just not allowed to be alone with the group. So yeah, they could be learning how to.
And then on Fridays, they would be helping with the events.
Correct.
This is for the whole 6-week camp.
This is for up to week 5. Week 6 is gonna be a little bit different because you're gonna be sprinkling in the events that they're doing, and I would say,
Events meaning field trips and.
no, events meaning their like, what they've learned from doing all of this. So one of the examples that was given was somebody might wanna do crafts. Somebody might wanna, do some type of organized
Somebody might wanna do something on the rec trails. I
Right.
mean, there might, somebody who really gets into that.
So that's what week 6 is about, is identifying and giving them the opportunities to showcase what they have learned over the previous weeks. All right, so that means we have eliminated all the words online.
Okay.
We have it broken down literally.
Both in. And we're gonna figure out another word for detox. I tried looking that one up.
Well, it's gone now.
I'll ask Teresa.
It's gone now.
Yeah.
It's gone, we put in other words, so there is no more detox.
Okay, good. Yeah, because that's,
We just eliminated
do
it.
we have to have detox?
No.
Is there procedures? Okay. We just do procedures.
They're kind of all day, they're gonna be, so yeah. Yes? I have most people nodding their heads, which is usually a good sign. And we're all willing to give this a go, and if it doesn't work, we're back here next year anyway.
Right.
Because we have to come up with year 2, and then we just have to do year 1 and 2.
We should plan on coming back here next year anyway to review and
Review.
Well, yeah, we should be back in September to review this without question.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That is done then. We're moving on to fees, proposed fees.
Proposed fees, okay, as we've been looking at fees, and so we came up at, not our last meeting, but the meeting before, with what we felt would be, a start to the increase of fees. We can't increase fees to 100% right away. This town cannot, the townspeople, the families cannot afford it. Our free and reduced rate is at 52% and climbing. So we have to really be careful that we don't, for a number of reasons, make this unaffordable for families. So right away, we're already going, because we're decreasing the program to a 6-week program, we're already going to be increasing the fees by 17% if we did not increase anything. What the committee has suggested is to increase the fees by 33% to $200 per week. $200 per summer, sorry, which works out to 300, see, I can't even talk anymore, it's just getting too late. $33.33. So that's what is our proposal. We also went through, all the pool fees, increased the pool fees, as you can see, 100%, 167%, 100%, 200%, 100%. We didn't really touch the seniors out of town. We figured, seniors deserve the same price as the in town, so. We increased the family pool pass by 60%, the seniors, by 14%, and a single by 67%. We increased the out-of-town passes by 67%, 14%, and 88%. Water aerobics, we increased by 150%. If you have a pool pass, we're still going to let you do the water aerobics. And that's offered twice a day at noon and at, I think, 6:30 or 7. The sports fees, we've increased by 11%, and the community center fees, we've increased by 13, 17, 25, and 33%. We would also like to we would also like to do some more sponsorships and fundraising and of trying to get some donations for the program, grants, etc. So we came up with a motion that we would like you to accept, to let us accept up to 8,000, because instead of coming back to you every week if we get a $50 donation. A motion to accept up to $8,000 in donations and sponsorship for activities and supplement programming of the Hinsdale Community Recreation Committee. This is being done to offer the children of Hinsdale programming that their families may not be able to afford.
Is that for the year?
Pardon?
That figure is for the year?
Yeah,
I have
until,
2 questions.
yeah,
So it says for activities, what activities? Is this
It's a
for
summer program.
scholarship? Is
Yes,
this for scholarship?
Yes.
But we didn't-
Okay,
but, you know, some of the sports, we didn't wanna just limit it to summer camp, because we might need it for, kids who are doing the sports, basketball, soccer. So that's why we left it activities. And who knows, we might bring another type of activity that we might need some sponsorship for.
so I would just want it, the motion to be for scholarships for either Parks and Rec events, or if you wanted to lay out activities and supplemental programs, but I would just want the scholarship to be.
You want a scholarship? Okay, because it might not be just for, what we're looking for is maybe grants, you know, different.
So the idea is, the original idea of it is to close the gap on summer program to cover the scholarships that, right now, we give a scholarship, there's no money offsetting it. So we want to be able to raise some money, look for, sponsors that could, maybe pay for 3 camp scholarships, or whatever it is, to kind of close that gap. But in thinking about it, okay, so $8,000 in scholarship money, what if we don't need all $8,000 of it? So that could go to offset some of the other costs if we, worded it differently than just scholarships. Basically, what we're looking for is, we're looking for some form of revenue that will offset some of the costs of the program.
So you're looking to be able to collect donations or sponsorships, or whatever the terminology is going to be, specifically to offset the costs of operating Parks and Rec programs.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, there is a scholarship fund, we already have one, it's got a little $500 in it, it's been active for some time. 2, if it's over $5,000, then I have a public hearing for you guys to accept anything.
Well, I don't think we're looking, I mean, I think we're
Oh,
up to, I don't think we're looking for, I don't think we're looking for one person to give.
Oh, no, I know that, but what I'm saying is, if you want
The
to,
amount is.
if you got
Yeah, the amount,
gifts.
we understand.
Yeah, the gifts, I have
So-
to
Yeah,
post something for a public hearing is over 5,000 or more.
We need to make sure the wording is correctly worded, that it will allow the usage. And I would say if it's gonna be over, the amount you're asking for is over $5,000 and it has to have a public hearing anyway, then I would just ask for 10,000 because it's a nice round number rather than 8,000.
that's fine with me, whatever.
That's, so that would be what we need to do, is make sure that it's worded correctly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I would say just make it $10,000.
And if it's earmarked for the scholarship, the fund that's already been awarded for this, that money stays in there.
Right, well, that's why we
And
wanted
that's-
to open it
So
up so
it-
that
so
we
it-
could cover scholarships, but we weren't tied to just scholarships.
Right, and what I'm saying is that if you open it up for scholarships and there's money left, it could go towards next year, so it's less money you have to raise.
So we need to figure out, to make sure that the money is accessible the way it needs to, we need to make sure that the wording is correct. And my recommendation would be just ask for 10,000 if it's gonna be more than 5,000.
that's fine, I mean, if Joe needs to check with somebody to get the wording, that's fine, but that's what we're looking for to help offset
Yep.
some of the revenue.
So I would say somebody speak with Jill so that you guys can.
So one of the things that we did at Parks and Rec is, talking about all of this and talking about how to work the sustainability piece that we've been talking about for several months into this. Sustainability will be worked into all of the programs and events, the goals that we have, so there'll be sustainability pieces in there. To jumpstart it and to make that easier for the, limited pool of volunteers that we have for Parks and Rec, we have temporarily set up a, sustainability subcommittee that can start finding this money, that can do it hopefully in a way that will be easier for these different people doing the different things and programs to kind of take on, further down the road, kind of lay that foundation. But the subcommittee will initially be in charge of, finding this money, working with Jill to look at grants, how to accept it, how to write it, and continue to figure all that out, and to get this money.
And I'm making an assumption, so don't shoot me, but I assume that means that Parks and Rec in some way is working with Matt about the accreditation thing, because that to me would play a huge role in being able to get grants and what grants were available.
And one of the big things is, once we get accredited, we have access to, it's called Ultra Camp, which I need to look more into the specifics, but they are a big source of camp scholarships for kids to attend.
So it sounds like
Part of the conversation that we had, we talked about, okay, as we're doing this, we need to work closely together and, Matt can go find some stuff, we can go find some stuff, but in with that organizational chart that we have drafted up, there's that brainstorming piece come together.
right.
So we talked, pretty in depth about doing that, so there'll be some communication, a lot of communication and collaboration to make sure that we're working towards the same goal, not competing or working against each other.
All right.
Quick thing, Matt brought up, to that point, we brought up that Mark Wahlberg thing, that was tied into that, right?
That was that conversation.
Yep, and as I understand it, Jill, you're gonna look at the language of that, but it's important or a priority that it's for, activities other than, including the summer camp. That's the important part.
That was.
Yeah, and we haven't had that in-depth conversation yet, but we will.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear to
There is
Jill,
one piece
because if you're gonna write it, don't write it twice.
There's a piece on here that's incomplete.
Which one?
The sports thing, where I asked about having the option to let kids from out of town come in at a higher price, because there are some.
Oh, the fee structure.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
While we're talking about it, I just don't want to get lost in stuff.
Well, we should, because you were gonna, that was gonna bring.
Yeah, you were gonna bring that.
Presentation, but maybe you can kind
Well,
of.
no, this was just specifically the sports, it was 2 months ago, I said I would also
Right,
like
you
the
were
ability.
going to bring us back a proposal and you haven't.
Right, so we can throw the idea out there.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to throw
Yeah,
it out there?
we, especially this year, we ran a program that was better in terms of numbers and ease than some of the surrounding towns that are in our league. And some of those kids don't get to participate in certain things that our kids do. And I would like the opportunity to include them, should they want to pay a higher price to come play with us.
Are they or their parents expressing interest in doing that?
Yes, there are 2 families from 2 different towns that have asked about it specifically.
The thing that we've always been cautioned in the past from Jill is that it's the liability issue, so that would be something that's why we asked you to bring back the proposal, Matt, so we could present it to Jill as to,
But if that can all work out, then there would be
All right.
potentially more revenue.
So here's where we are. We've got the edit of the 6-week program that's going to come to us next week, which we will be voting on. And that'll just have what we put together, it'll just be written in so it doesn't just say online, and then have a lot of blanks, it'll be filled in at least with the basics. So that will be voted on next week. We have this proposal sheet with proposed fee changes. And I will say, Matt, if you can put together something on adding that the out-of-town section, then we can address that next week as well.
How in depth does that need to be? Is it just a matter of infrastructure or what would you?
I would say, since it's brand new, just a matter of the suggestion.
Put a number to it.
Yeah, just number and just have it say out of town and have one line say in town. So it's just adding one line. Yeah, I don't, unless, is there a reason that anybody would need to see numbers on something that doesn't exist yet?
On the sports, can we see like generally what the sports cost us? And then,
Doesn't cost, the sports programs do not cost anything. It all goes into a revolving, just a separate fund, it does not cost the
That's
town
what it
anything.
is.
but I'm just like, are we making money off of what we're charging for the athletes to play compared to what you're like?
I gave it to you guys.
Yeah, the sports we do not, the sports program expenses and fees do not run through the general fund. They run through the revolving fund. And that fund right now for sports has a balance of $9,000. Well, that's all of them.
That's, well, yes, but payroll doesn't, and that's the only thing that's.
That's what I'm wondering, like if we're.
But I can get you
coaches or-
anything you want.
You don't get, the coaches don't get paid.
No, but we have a season record.
Yeah, but see, the only thing that gets paid through the budget is
Sports
the.
But I can get yours in the
And then like, I know we talked tournaments cost money as well and
And
that
that's
type
all
of
broken.
stuff, like is it, are we at least breaking even is my question?
Yeah,
Any sort of
the
fee?
stuff I gave you guys 2 months ago is it all of what she's asking for, I just have to give it over here.
We made money on this last time, right?
You did on last year,
All right,
Good question.
go ahead.
Going back to your question about whether we need to see a figure to, well, we're not gonna do anything until next week, but $45 is it per, or is it now 50 proposed, is it per event, soccer,
Yeah,
baseball?
yeah,
Per season.
we don't have big soccer and basketball.
Baseball's gonna be like Halbert King.
But yes, that would be per sport season.
Per time.
I would be opposed to start at a double and negotiate from there. I mean, we did double on the pools and, I mean, if they're out of town,
Oh, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certain, I can give you a number next week, but we were gonna.
Yeah. Come with a number next week.
Is it 8 weeks
Robert,
usually?
Robert.
All right, any other questions on that? So, we are going to get the updated program, the 6-week program, and we are going to be able to look this over, and then Matt is going to come with the out-of-town sports suggestion. We should be able to vote on all of that next week. Is there anything else? And then you guys are going to figure out the wording for,
Yeah, you want
It's okay if I work with Joe on the wording of it?
anybody have a problem with that?
and this one's for Kim, because it's the original.
All right,
We have one more thing that came up at our meeting that we'd like, it only take a second, I'm sorry. I told you we had 2 things.
that's all right.
Okay, we've been talking about, at our meeting, some of the changes that we would like with the, webpage. We would like some more information available to, as part of transparency and as part of the, our overall programming. We would like some additions and some changes made to the webpage, our webpage. If you look at this sheet right here, we explain it better. It just makes it flow better with having everything on one page, the minutes, the, a link to the, beautification committee, a link to the farmer's market, our meeting minutes, all the forms that need to be done, Matt's email address, link his email address directly to this, so that, like, say they have a Heritage Park application, they can just send it right to Matt directly. And these are just some of the suggestions that we've made. As you can see with the letter, it's all explained out in the letter.
Instead of having the additional information on the webpage will help sustainability with a community outreach as well. It will help you inform the public on the programs that are available.
Yeah, all the events, stuff have flyers linked from that.
Right, so they can have all the details.
Right, and I found, in working, and I do, working with the, HEF committee, the Hinsdale Education Foundation, that a website that is set up like this is much easier for your donors. If you send out a letter to a donor, they'll immediately go to the website to, you know, see what everything's all about. And if we have all of this information on one easy page instead of going like this and this and this, it would just be a better fit for us.
I mean, today, I was looking at the website today, and it was, you had minutes in a different area, and you had, I like this, description of Parks and Rec, because on the other boards, there's no description, so if anyone, you know, wanted to get involved, like planning board is looking for, new people,
Yeah.
they have open seats, but there's no real description of what planning board does, so I like that there's a description to explain more for people wanting to get involved, I think that's really good.
It will give it a little bit more pizzazz too, because you can't see it here, but at the meeting we discussed, these things that look just associated will be told, so aesthetically it will look a lot. Click on that page, it's gonna pop.
All right. Anything else?
Okay.
I've got like 12. How many you want? There, have 4. You need some too? I've got more.
When you start charging for them, then we can put the money in stuff.
Is it next week we're going to talk about, whether we're going to charge for the CIP program? Or not? No, we haven't. Last time I asked, I was told we weren't discussing it.
We talked about it as a program, we talked about this in the first meeting.
The last time I came to a meeting, I asked specifically if we were going to charge for it, and I was told we weren't discussing it that night, so I wanna know when we're going to discuss it.
You are correct, we did say that we weren't discussing it that night. It has been my assumption that yes, there is a charge for it, and you have your finger up.
Yeah, I would just like to suggest, because this is the first time with this, that we don't expect it to be a moneymaker. I would like to be able, I think that in order for us to get this program off the ground, we have to be able to have people buy into it. I think if we charge like $100 for the summer, which would cover the cost of the CPR, their CPR card, and, you know, a lot of the different things that they were going to do, that would be how we start it, and then we start building on it every year. To charge $45, I think in this, if I remember from the proposal, $45 a week for the program.
That was just thrown out.
Yeah,
We
just the
that's
number
what,
of placeholder.
right, well, that's what but
Yeah.
I think that is, I don't think that will achieve the outcome that we want, especially since we already use 12-year-old volunteers for referees for the sports program. This is something that we really, if we wanna build on it, I think we have to start out a little bit smaller to really,
Like introductory price.
like an introductory price, a buy-in price, things like that.
If we're not discussing it tonight officially, but I would be curious what the cost is for like the extra, with the CPR, like you said.
It's like
for-
$45, I think, for a CPR
So,
card.
yeah, all that, like, extra programs and stuff.
Right.
What's the cost, gonna be for that?
Right.
And what would we need to make?
Exactly, exactly.
For that?
Yeah, and
Would be
I think that would be, because their CPR card is the one thing that you have to pay for separately. All the other trainings that happen are going to happen anyways with the date, with the, all the counselors. Marian's has different programming that comes in to help. So that would be, it doesn't matter how many people, that's why I think
Any extra cost, I guess, to
It'll
run
still be
this
more.
program.
it may still be more, but I think in order for us to get families to buy into it, that we have to offer it at a rate that would be comfortable for them. And I'm not saying, you know, I think $100 would cover our costs, especially, because we might only have 2 kids, we might have no one that applies for it. Because this program for the past 15 years has been a volunteer program.
All right, so before we vote to finalize the CIT, we will discuss that. There were a few highlighted spots that we need to make sure for the
May I suggest that we get a final draft of all this too?
the leadership development program information. Can we get that out? Say by Thursday, so that we have the weekend to look it over. And if you want, when you put that together, just leave the amount. Just leave it blank.
That's what I tried to do.
Yeah, but you also have an extra how many participants.
Right.
So,
So just leave it blank for right now, and we'll address that. But if you can get that, I assume to Jill, so that she can get it out to everybody that will need it for Monday. That address that?
Are we included in everybody or you guys?
I suppose.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Anything else from the Parks and Rec committee?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Cheers. We'll follow you there. All right. Let's go around the table. Anything else?
Parks and Rec, I mean, they basically said it all, what I took away from it was the website and their ability to ask for donations and I don't really need that. I don't need
Anything else?
nothing else.
All right. Tomorrow we will be going to Keene for the county delegates' annual hangout and eat their food, as Jill likes to call it. That will be with all the select boards are invited. So there's usually a lot of different towns. DRA tends to have somebody come down and give us updates. We get legislative updates and stuff. So we will be doing that tomorrow. What am I forgetting?
you want to hold off and do this next week?
I do. Do we have any non-publics?
Yes, for hiring.
I guess I need a motion going around public for hiring.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to go on around public for hiring. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?